Let's say a special good evening to our first guest, Mr. Neil Gosain. A pleasant good evening, sir, and welcome to The Observer right here on Guile TV, Tigo, Facebook, Amplia, and YouTube. Special good evening to you, and first of all, happy Survival 2023.
Happy good evening to you and your listeners.
Thank you so much. Mr. Gosain, we've heard so much of this Dragon gas deal. When it came to us, Prime Minister made it quite clear it's great news. Government has been granted a license for the development of the Dragon field. Since then, we've heard there'll be no cash payments to Venezuela. President Maduro doesn't seem to welcome that or is willing to accept that, the terms laid out by the U.S. government. Deal or no deal? Please, shed some light.
Well, we would love it to be a deal, we really would. But to tell you the truth, it doesn't look like this deal will be. Are we going to use toilet paper, onions, and garlic to pay for it if we cannot use cash? Maduro was adamant. The U.S. government agreement through the OFAC waiver to develop the field said no cash payment. So from what we're hearing is President Maduro is very upset over this whole situation. And we really need the government to come together now and hammer out a deal because we need the gas. If we don't get this gas, our economy, our energy economy, the whole energy sector is falling for lack of oil and gas. So this gas will resuscitate the energy industry in Trinidad and Tobago. So we really, really need it. But at this point in time, it doesn't look like any deal is going. In fact, it looks like the Dragon wing broke off again because all the headlines had said the Dragon can dance again. But so far, it's a non-starter.
Yeah, but Mr. Gosain, if you look at it, it seems as though Venezuela is saying, look, you spoke to the U.S. about this, and they have their stipulations and they have a criteria, but no one spoke to us exactly what we want. Was it something here where the cart went before the horse?
Well, that is it. It looks like the whole deal they didn't include Venezuela as well, and the president, and President Maduro seems upset about that. I think if Trinidad and the rest of the Caribbean were speaking on our behalf to get this deal off the ground and to ensure that we could make the deal, I think they should have invited the president of Venezuela. So I wonder if this announcement was premature before all these issues were carefully assessed and addressed by this administration. But we all wait with bated breath to see how this will work and hope that this is not stillborn, because we really need it. It has been so long since we received some good news within TNT energy sector.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to get good news, but I mean, how realistic is it? Is it going to bear fruit? I mean, this announcement came after Dr. Rowley at the celebration of the PNM at Napa, saying that hard times, he said, don't be disillusioned. There's some hard times coming. We've got some times that are going to be very grinding. And then, hey, Monday morning, whatever, we signed a 2-year agreement. Now that the dust is somewhat clearing, we're hearing that 2 years could never be enough. You need at least 4 years. Now, within that time frame, if the Republicans were to take the White House, then definitely we'll have to say, is there going to be a deal at all? I mean, it's one thing to make statements to gain political traction, but to come to the citizenry and say, listen, we struck gold. We're going to be able to afford things. We're going to have a great deal. I mean, that's something different.
Exactly. That's exactly my thoughts as well. And like I said, the sanctions against Venezuela oil company PDVSA still remains. And there's obviously many hurdles to overcome and difficulties in dealing with Venezuela. So, I mean, from the report so far, at first, the Prime Minister made this big announcement and said we struck gold, as you said. And then we heard nothing from Venezuela president. We heard nothing at all. And then finally, late last week, we heard reports that he's not happy with it, and basically saying that it is colonialism still, and the U.S. applying pressure on our region. So, I mean, if he was included in the negotiations in the first place, we would have been able to see some light at the end of the tunnel. But as I stated earlier, it's a non-starter at this point in time. And unless we get it off the ground and negotiate something for Trinidad and Tobago, hard times are a reality for Trinidad and Tobago.
No, I mean, you'll always, in every economy, you look at short-term, medium-term, and long-term as far as your economy and the things that you're going to use to grow it. But why get tied up in such a geopolitical, complex situation when there's Suriname and Guyana, where we could enter into these deals and actually get something off the ground?
That's a good question, Mikey. That's a really good question, right? But it seems that they have pinned success on this dragon field for such a long time that they put all their hopes on it, and it's so difficult to deal with Venezuela. I can't understand why they can't cut some deals. If we had a refinery still open, we could be refining oil for Guyana, right? We could be doing something with Suriname, but we don't have it. It's closed down. It's mothballed, and we don't even see the ray of light in the future for that to ever be reopened ever again. It's going to cost over $2 billion to get that revamped. So that is a non-starter, not going to happen ever. And now we have this deal, which was waved in front of us and said, hey, this is a good thing. And it is a good thing for the country, provided that we could cut the deal and get the gas from the field.
Yeah.
Without that, there is no hope.
Yeah, and again, this is not about looking for kinks in the armor. I mean, at the end of the day, if it benefits Trinidad and Tobago, hopefully it would benefit us as citizens. But the fact of the matter is, would you be surprised if the announcement is made that it's still going ahead, when in fact that so many of these things are not going to be disclosed as far as what's the form of payment, what's going to happen after 2 years? Would you be surprised if the green light is still given to go ahead?
Nothing surprises me at this point in time. A lot of things come up. I don't hear anything of it again from the information provided within the energy sector. So, I mean, like I said, this deal, it wouldn't surprise me at all that we go ahead. But how can we go ahead when it take about 3 or 4 years to extract the gas from the field? So that 2-year initial contract is really worthless for now. At least it gives them an avenue to try to negotiate with President Maduro. But however, he has already said no cash, no gas, right? So they have to work out something. And like I said, how are we going to pay them? In toilet paper, garlic and onions? If that is the case, what is that going to take? Hundreds and hundreds of containers? Think of it, we're not sure how we're going to pay Maduro to entice him to allow us to extract that gas.
Yeah, and based on everything as far as sanctions and all the geopolitical complexity, the Prime Minister may also have to think long-term about increasing reliance on Venezuela. And why? Because if there's no political stability, if there's social unrest, and again, if there's all this geopolitical red tape that we have to get through, again, why such a heavy focus on our neighbor when there are others in the region that we can turn to and actually have a deal on the table?
Well, only this administration can answer that, and whatever the Prime Minister has or have with President Maduro, because we saw them coming in during COVID in a secret meeting that we were never really aware what happened in that meeting, if you remember.
Yeah.
So I mean, there is a lot of things behind cloak and dagger, behind closed doors that they're not privy to, and it's something that we'd like to know. This is something good for the country. If we could get it, the thing is they're saying the UNC is against it. That is not true, right? UNC is part, citizens and the UNC administration is part of Trinidad and Tobago, and they want to see Trinidad and Tobago succeed. But we're not getting the proper information to understand what's going on. So if we're not getting the proper information, they are asking the questions. They are asking, how are we paying for this? Will we develop that seal in 2 years? Can we hammer out a